Well, welcome back. Again, the topic is on homosexuality. And so I think I'll just lay the question flat straight. So why is the church against homosexuals? Tao rin naman sila eh. So why is yung simbahan eh medyo parang pinag-iinitan yung mga gays?
Hindi naman pinag-iinitan yung gays, no? Yung prinsipyo ng church is love the sinner and hate the sin.
Although sinabi ni Hayden ko din yan eh. So,
okay. So matandaan natin, tatlo yung puntos ng katekismo tungkol sa homosexuality.
Yes.
Yung first point niya is it is an act, the act itself, no, is an act of grave depravity. And it's disordered, no, highly disordered. That's the first point. It's about the action. And then yung number two, about the persons na. Sabi niya na dapat trial yan para sa kanila. So ibig sabihin, ang kailangan na reaksyon ng mga tao sa mga homosexual is tatlo. In fact, apat, no? Respect, compassion, sensitivity, non-discrimination. And para sa tao naman na meron nun, ang sabi naman ng simbahan ay fulfill the will of God. Number two, yung difficulties nila to offer it united with the sacrifice of Christ, the cross of Christ. And then number three is a call to chastity. And it gives 4 means for chastity. And number 1 is self-mastery. Number 2 is support from friends. Number 3 is prayer. And number 4, sacraments.
But parang, isn't that a contradiction na parang, okay, fine, we love you, tao ka, pero wag ka magturo sa kindergarten namin or wag ka pumasok sa military, or wag ka magturo sa mga nursery schools. But isn't that a contradiction?
Well, nangyayari yun siguro.
Hindi kayo pwede magkasal din nga pala.
I suppose ba yung nangyayari na discrimination? Sabi nga ng simbahan, dapat walang discrimination. Tapos sabi din pala ng sambahan, sa mga bansa na ginagawang criminal yung homosexual act, please stop that practice. Sinabi ng simbahan yun sa UN. No? Pagkatapos, pero yung rights to marry, ibang usapan na yan. Because yung ginawa ng Diyos is the ones responsible for transmitting life are man and women together. Ginawa ng Diyos yun. Wala tayong magagawa doon. No? But at the same time, okay, madami ng ngayon studies din na nagpapakita na couples in a same-sex marriage have more diseases. There's greater domestic violence. Napakalaki. It seems, yung domestic violence. No? For a normal marriage, 5%. For those in gay, mga 29 to 39. For those who are lesbian, it's 56% may domestic violence. No? So, even sociologically speaking, no, madaming disadvantage para sa sosyedad, yung same-sex marriage.
Even then, okay, let's say charitable nga yung church, and yun yung position niya. I've come across 2 documents. One is with regard to yung letter ng CDF, Congregation for the Defense of the Faith, on the counseling of homosexuals. And then the other one is yung letter with regard to legislative proposals to eliminate discrimination on homosexuals. They're saying, obviously, of course, charity, tolerance, but at the same time, they're very emphatic in letters in saying, but we should be very clear in making people realize that we cannot accept this as normal. Doesn't that seem to be some sort of, again, a contradiction na para bang namamangka yung simbahan sa dalawang ilog?
I think it's not. It's actually the protection of the institution of the family.
Okay.
No? The mere fact that the church is very firm in its stand that marriage belongs only to one man and one woman, no, brings to the fact that it is protecting the institution of the family. Kasi ang dihado dito, pag pinayagan mo ang lalaki, babae sa babae, ang dihado dito hindi naman sila kundi magiging anak nila. No?
But weren't there studies na parang, well, we've read a lot of studies sa Facebook, for example, yung mga kaibigan nating gays who are supporting this agenda. Apparently, it's better to have, for example, kaysa isang may bata dyan na walang magulang, nasa orphanage, might as well give them or let them be adopted by a homosexual couple.
And then?
And apparently, wala naman daw negative effects according to those studies that they're cited. What do you say to that?
Okay, madami ding studies na nagpapakita na yung bata na nasa kasama ng homosexual couple, mas mabababa yung grades nila. Math and English. And also, they're the most unpopular kids in the school. And then also, there's a higher percentage of them going into homosexuality. and also being victims of homosexual relationships
From
with
the parent?
with the parent, yes.
Okay.
Kasi importante rin nga rin dito is yung modelo na isang babae at isang lalaki, kailangan kumpleto yun para maiwasan natin itong phenomenon ng homosexualidad. Pag inalis mo ang kahit isa dyan, lalaki o babae, which is a mother and a father, no, na kailangan kumpleto no, sa isang pamilya, magkakaroon siya ng kalituhan sa kanyang sexualidad at doon, sabi nga ni Sir, no, Sir Raul, is malilid siya into homosexuality because of that.
And to add to this, a while ago you were talking about mukhang may contradiction. Actually, I actually view it in a different way. I view it as us actually seeing how compassionate, patient, and understanding our church is. Because, I mean, homosexual acts, we know that the church is against this, but even though they are explicitly against this, they still try to reach out to these people, yung mga homosexuals, saying that, okay, we know that you're committing these acts, we still accept you, we still try to respect you, we do not condone what you are doing, but if ever you need our help or our support, we are always here for you. So when I see that contradiction, that apparent contradiction, for me, it just shows how really merciful and charitable our church is.
But then, when you look at yung some model, mga draft laws natin, and I'm sure you've read them, okay, fine. Let's not discriminate on the basis of race or religion, or kung whether minority group siya, kung yung ethnicity niya, kung igorot ba siya, or ethnic group, or what have you. So, bakit hindi pwedeng sumali yung homosexual doon? Aren't they a minority din na kailangang bigyan natin ng parang, how do we say, affirmative action or ano?
You're talking about the anti-discrimination bill. Ang worry ko doon
why is yung gays, bakit kailangan hindi pa rin makasali doon sa ano na yun?
It's not actually the gays, but how the law has been drafted and how it could be used by anyone else. Hindi ko sinasabing gay lang. Bakit? Because homosexuality is something that is the judgment of the person. Ibig sabihin, kahit sinong tao, pwede na sabihin sa sarili niya, ay, bakla ako. Kaya ako nadi-discriminate. And why? Because the anti-discrimination bill, discrimination is defined as actual or perceived discrimination. Ibig sabihin, kahit ako, hindi ako bakla, I was not accepted because of one reason or another, I could pretend to be a bakla and sue this company na, oh, bakla kasi ako, kaya hindi mo ko itinanggap. So, doon ko tinitingnan yung aspeto na ganyan. No? Na sabi ko nga, mahirap kasi kung kulay lang, madaling ma-determine kasi kulay yan. No? So, pero kung yung ganyan na sexual orientation and gender identity, mahirap i-confirm.
And I think one of the positions, if I may have read it correctly, yung kay Cardinal Ratzinger at that time, yung sa color of the skin or yung ethnicity or yung race has nothing to do with morals.
Yes.
Pero I think with the question of homosexuality, iba na yun medyo may pumapasok na yung usapang morals. But if I may ask, and I hope I don't put you in the spot, let's say merong kindergarten dyan, would you agree to having a homosexual actually teach in that school?
Again, we have to distinguish in the three elements that I've mentioned. There is, attraction, behavior, self-identification. So self-identification usually comes out because there's also behavior. That means if there's the behavior, clearly he's doing immoral actions. And it is immoral not because the church says so. In fact, the church explains why it deems it immoral. Yung sa punto ng number 1 ng katisismo, ang sabi niya, kasi yung sexual action that is for procreation, hindi nila pwedeng gawin yung procreation. So, yung sexual act which is meant for procreation is not being used for procreation. And then the number 2 reason that it gave why it's disordered is it does not proceed from any affective complementarity. So, that means disorder nga talaga.
But the question is, would you want to have a homosexual, for example, teaching in a kindergarten school? Or let me extend that, would you like to accept homosexuals, for example, in the military?
I can throw the question back to you. Would you like to have...
No, but I'm the interviewer. It's my prerogative.
That is my point. That for parents, they would like somebody to have as role model, somebody who is morally upright and with very high moral standards.
I guess probably if I'm getting it correctly, it doesn't matter kung yung orientation inside but if he's expressing it publicly, then perhaps there's something wrong there.
Because we have to note that the young people have to have role models, no? Kaya ako nga...
But again, di ba, when you, I'm sorry if I may interrupt, but nagbabago din kasi, di ba, noong unang panahon, ang mga role model na lalaki, sila John Wayne, sila FPJ, yung tahimik na silent type, and then mamaya-maya sila Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, yung medyo shorter guys. Tapos mamaya-maya, sila Ben Affleck na, sila Brad Pitt. I mean, should we a little bit be more open-minded in having role models that are not necessarily fitting the strong silent type?
About that one, yung sabi mo kanina, kindergarten and military, you actually can't, the two situations are not the same. Kasi sa military, as long as you're willing and able to fight, pwede ka dyan, lumaban ka, okay lang yan, walang kaso. But in terms of kindergarten,
you're talking kasi because of the US.
Yes, but in terms of kindergarten, you are actually going to teach people, and more or less, pag nagtuturo ka based from your own perceptions, your own ideas, and given na bata pa to, formative levels, baka naman it might not be a good idea kasi baka yung mapasa mo sa kanila may not exactly be the right things.
Okay. Well, again, as is usual with this show, we always have a problem with time. We seem to be unable to make it stop, but I would just like to have one question and I'd like to throw it to you. And I think ito palagi sinasabi nila, particularly in the US. Meron akong dalawang tao, nagmamahalan naman, sincere sila nagmamahalan. Why can't we allow them na mag-asawa? Just because pareho silang sex.
I'll jump from your statement of the word you use, yung open mind. No? I think it was G.K. Chesterton who said that an open mind is open so that it can close and choose something substantial. And that substantial thing for the human mind that is supposed to be open is the truth. And it has man has to accept the truth that there are only two sexes. The male sex and the female sex. And God has a design for both of them. And it cannot be that a man preempts that design and says, this is the right design. And then you have made yourself the creator. And that is not true. That is false.
Rollie, would you have any closing words before we go? I think I'll leave the honor to you.
Okay, siguro what we wanted to show through this program is that the church is very much compassionate and very much in love with people with same-sex attractions. And we, as a people of God, must be able to show that to them. The reason why people are coming out of the church with persons with same-sex attractions, first and foremost, is because they have been rejected by people inside the church. Sabi nga nila, why is it that you're not a Christian? Number one, you haven't met a Christian. Or number two, you have met one. No? Okay. So, siguro, our challenge for all of us is, let us be Christians to them. Let us show them the love of Jesus to them, and let us show to them the compassion that we have for them. No? At the same time, not condoning their action. Ang lagi nating phrase nga dito is, be able to love in truth. No? Be able to love in truth. And it has to be combined. Kasi kung walang katotohanan sa pagmamahal, no, hindi mo siya tunay na minamahal.
Well, on that note, we'll probably have to end this episode. It's really quite interesting. Raul knows the admiration I have for him, the same with David. But I'd like to single out si Rollie here for well, it's no accident he's the president of Courage. For the courage that he's showing in discussing these things. I think kasi ang bottom line is, whether you're homosexual or heterosexual, it's still the same thing. And I think you mentioned kanina substantial healing. But in the end, I don't think there's really any healing. I mean, in the end, it's still on a day-to-day process, nagsastruggle ka pa rin.
Tama.
And I think that's the thing that we will have to go through and all for the rest of our lives. Well, on that note, I hope we can invite you again for the next episode of Naturang Batas. We have a very good episode, and it's going to be about the state of the church. We will have Father Francis Castillo, and Raul hopefully can come back for us, and David obviously as well. And hopefully you can join us. It's going to be a very good episode, and thank you. See you then.